In this lesson, we're going to be learning about the poetic form known as the Dohā in Hindi, a type of couplet. And we're going to learn about it by reading some Dohas composed by the Hindi poet Abdul Rahim Khan-i Khanan, who was born in 1556 and composed throughout the 16th century. Abdul Rahim, or Abdul Rahim, was born in 1556 to Bayram Khan, a prominent minister and general at the court of three Mughal emperors, Babur, Humayun, and Akbar. Bayram Khan also acted as Akbar's guardian when the latter was a child, and so when Bayram himself was killed in 1561, Emperor Akbar took guardianship of his son, Abdul Rahim, seen here as a child being presented to the emperor. Rahim then became a prominent minister at Akbar's court, earning the title Khan-i Khanan, or Lord of Lords. In addition to composing in Persian and Sanskrit, and commissioning some of the most beautiful manuscripts of the period, Rahim composed poetry in Hindi, which was then called Hindavi or Bhaka. Some of this fine poetry, including his Dohas, has survived till today. Now let's begin by reviewing the rules of Moraic meters in Hindi, or Matrik Chand. There are two types of syllables in Hindi verse. There are laghu, or light syllables, which are given a numerical value of 1, and there are guru, or heavy syllables, which are given a numerical value of 2. Laghu, or light syllables, are those that end in the short vowels a, I, and u. Guru, or heavy syllables, are those that end in the long vowels a, I, U, A, O, or aw. Now, it's important to remember that it does not matter which consonant begins a syllable for the purposes of counting the morai, or matras. It only matters how long the vowel is. There is one exception to this, which is the case of conjunct consonants, which we'll encounter in a moment. But just remember that whether a syllable is just a vowel or a consonant in a vowel, it's the length of the vowel that decides whether it's a laghu, a light, or a guru, a heavy syllable. Also, remember to always count when you're scanning or checking the number of matras in a line of verse, and remember to always pronounce the inherent in early Hindi poetry. This is the sound that follows any consonant, even if it's not written, for example, at the end of many words. One example is na. You know that to pronounce na, you have to pronounce the at the end of the syllable. But similarly, when you are reciting early Hindi poetry, in a word like nam, which is pronounced in modern prose simply as nam, name, you want to pronounce the inherent vowel at the end, so you'll pronounce it nama, nama, in order to get the meter correct. Now, let's practice scanning or checking the meter of a line of verse by looking at a few short examples, beginning with the name of the poet, Rahim. Rahim consists of 3 syllables, ra, he, and ma. Ra ends in the short vowel so that'll have a value of 1. He ends in the long vowel I, so that'll have a value of 2. And ma ends in the short vowel so that will have a value of 1. So altogether, Rahima has a Moraic value of 4. Do, which means dono, or both in early Hindi, consists of 2 syllables. Do, that's a long vowel o, so that'll give that syllable a value of 2. U is a long vowel as well, so that too has a value of 2, and so altogether, do has a metrical value of 4. Now, what do we do when we encounter 2 or more consonants together forming a conjunct, what is called in Hindi a sanyukt vyanjan? Now, the term Sanyukt Vyanjan, in fact, has three consonantal conjuncts in it. The first is the kta, the ka and the ta together at the end of Sanyukta. The second are the va and the ya, vya, at the beginning of Vyanjan. And the third are the na and the ja in the middle of Vyanjan. Now, what do we do when we encounter these in a line of poetry? Well, we have to break those conjuncts apart, and the first consonant in the conjunct will be joined with the preceding syllable, and the second consonant will be joined with the following syllable. For example, in the word sanyukt, the first syllable sa ends in a short vowel so it is treated as light. Y, normally, because it ends in a short vowel would be treated as light. However, in this case, the syllable is followed by a consonantal conjunct, ka and ta. So we have to break the ka and the ta apart. The ka goes with the preceding syllable of ya, and now that syllable is treated as heavy and is given a value of 2. And finally, ta, as a separate syllable, ends in the short vowel and that syllable is therefore treated as light. And so we have 1 plus 2 plus 1 for a total Moraic value of 4 for the term sanyukt. Similarly, the word akshara, which means sound or syllable or letter in Hindi, begins with the short vowel So normally we would treat this as a light syllable. However, it's followed by a consonantal conjunct, kasha, which is broken into ka and sha. The ka will be put together with the preceding syllable so that now becomes a heavy syllable, ak. Sha ends in a short vowel, so it is light, 1, and ra is again a short vowel and is treated as light, so 2 plus 1 plus 1 equals a metrical value of 4 for akshara. This rule applies even between different words. Let's look at an example to see what that means. Sanyukt Vyanjan. Sanyukt, as we saw before, ends with the syllable ta. Ta in a short vowel so it was treated as light. However, in this example, that ta syllable is followed by the syllable vya, a consonantal conjunct. And so we have to break apart that conjunct into va and ya. The va is joined with the preceding syllable of ta, and now that syllable is treated as heavy. And so we have 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 mora in that example. Now you'll notice, though, if you're paying close attention, that in this example, I have treated vyanjana as if that syllable, the unj, is light, right? Whereas earlier I was saying that in vyanjana, the un and the ja together form a conjunct. Now, early Hindi poets were allowed to treat such cases in one of two ways. A vyanjana, for example, that bindu above the in vya could be treated as if it were a nasal consonant joined together with the ja, or it could be treated as if it was making the vowel nasalized, vyanjana, instead of vyanjana. Now, Hindi poets were allowed to do this, and so their verses could be scanned in different ways. Basically, they were allowed this liberty so that they could make their verses fit a particular meter. So keep this in mind when you're scanning verses of early Hindi. Now, finally, let's look at the structure of a doha. A doha consists of 2 lines, and each of those lines can be further divided into 2 parts, which are separated by what is called a yati, or kaisura. And that yati is essentially a pause, which I've represented here with a backslash. The first part of a line consists of 6 plus 4 plus 3 matras for a total of 13. The second half of a line will consist of 6 plus 4 plus 1 matras for a total of 11. And in general, any line of verse which first has 13 and then 11 matras is considered a doha, regardless of how the matras are distributed within it. However, really good poets follow this pattern you see right here to a T. The final rule to remember is that each line of a doha has to end with a heavy and then a light syllable. For example, you could end a line of a doha with the word kama, because kama consists of a heavy, ka, heavy syllable, and ma, a light syllable. Now, you can also end a verse with a word which contains more syllables, but the last two syllables of that word should be heavy and then light. Let's look at the following verse by Rahim. Ab Rahima mushkila padi, garde do kama. Sanche se to jug nahi, jhuthe mile na rama. Let's scan each of the lines to see if they fit the pattern of a doha. The first line, Ab Rahima mushkila padi, garde do kama. That's a short vowel, so that's a light syllable with a value of 1, and ba, similarly, short vowel, value of 1 for that syllable. Rahima, as we saw before, ra, it's 1, he, 2, ma, that's 1. Mushkila, ma-u, ends in a short vowel u, but as we saw before, we have to be careful because it's followed by a consonantal conjunct, sh plus ka. So we break those apart. The sh goes with the preceding syllable, and so that first syllable in mushkil is counted as heavy or long. So we'll give that a value of 2. Ki is short, that's 1, and la, that's short, so 1. So 2 plus 1 plus 1. And pardi, pa, that's short, and di, that's long, so 1 plus 2. When we add those all up, we get 13, and so that must mean that this is where the yati, or the kaisura, the pause, goes. Okay, let's look at the second half of the line. Garde, that's ga, heavy, erde, also heavy, so that's 2 plus 2. Do, that's long, heavy, so that's 2. U, also heavy, that's 2. Ka, long ah, so that's heavy. Ma, that's short vowel, so that's light, that's 1. So let's see, 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1, that's 11. Great, so 13 plus 11, this fits the pattern of a doha. And let's look closer. Can we break the first half into 6 plus 4 plus 4 matras? Ab Rahim mushk. So 1 plus 1, that's 2, plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, that's 4, that's 6. And it's okay to group the different words together as long as the syllables add up correctly. So that's 6. Then we see 2 plus 1 plus 1 in mushkil, that's 4. And 1 plus 2 in pari, that's 3. So that fits the pattern exactly. Gar, de, do. 2 plus 2 plus 2, that's 6. U, ka. 2 plus 2, that's 4. Ma, plus 1. So that is 6 plus 4 plus 1. That, again, fits the pattern of a doha exactly. So this is a very well-wrought line of verse that Rahim has made. Now let's look at the second line of the verse. Sanche se to jug nahi, jhuthe mile na rama. Sa, that's a long vowel, so that's a heavy syllable. J, long vowel, heavy syllable. So that's 2 plus 2. Se, long vowel, heavy syllable. That's 2. Do, long vowel, heavy syllable. 2. Ja, short 1. Ga, short 1. Na, he, na, short 1. Plus he, 2 long. So this adds up to 13, and that is where our yati, or pause, should go. Now, jhuthe, ju, long, that's 2. Te, long, that's 2. Me, short, 1. Le, long 2, na, short 1, ra, long 2, ma, short 1. So 11. So again, it fits the 13-11 pattern, but let's look more closely. In the first half, 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. 2 plus 1 plus 1, we grouped as 4, and 1 plus 2, that's 3. Looks good. In the second line, 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2. There's no way for us to break this into 6 and then 4. And so we see that the second half of the second line of this Dohā is not exactly perfectly following the pattern of a Dohā, but it's still pretty good. So we'll give this one to Rahim. Now, what does this verse mean? Let's take a look. We can make our work easier by dividing the verse into 4 parts using what we know about the meter. Let's take the first part. Ab Rahim mushkil padi. Now, Rahim, a difficulty has arisen, or in this case, a difficulty has befallen padi. Garde do'u kam. Do'u, both, kama, tasks, are garda, difficult. Sanche se to jaga nahi, taking the first part of the second line. Sanche, this is true, used adverbally, so by being truthful or honest. Sanche se, by being truthful or honest. To jaga nahi, one does not obtain the world. In other words, one does not obtain worldly wealth or worldly power or things that are of this world. Jhute, again used adverbally, by or through falsehood, in other words, by acting untruthfully. Mile na ram. Ram is not obtained. In other words, by acting untruthfully, one does not obtain God. So now, Rahim, difficulty has befallen. Both tasks are difficult. By being honest, one obtains nothing in the world, and through falsehood, one does not obtain God. Now let's listen to the Dohā being recited by Manpreet Kaur.
अब रहीम मुश्किल पड़ी, गाढ़े दो काम, सांचे से तो जग नहीं, झूठे मिले न राम.